Welcome back to the channel, everyone.
Yeah, welcome back to the channel.
In today's video, we are going to talk about the DAS Pass, but we're going to talk about it specifically related to special events at Disneyland. So, come
get lost with us today
while we talk about some more DAS Pass. Alright, so we just got back from the Oogie Boogie Halloween party at Disney California Adventure, and I am somebody who...
Awesome experience. Check it out in the link below.
Yeah. If you guys want to see all of the videos that we have posted, we have a lot of footage, stories, and tips for you, so make sure you guys check out either the links up above, but we'll also have a playlist as well that you guys can just kind of cycle through.
And you'll see that at the end of the video. We'll put the playlist there.
And that way you guys can see everything that happened at Oogie Boogie Bash 2021. But yeah, so I am somebody who has a disability that utilizes the Disability Access Service, which is also called, in short, the DAS Pass. And what this does is it allows you to have access to rides that you may not be able to wait in the queue for. And by that I mean you can't stand in the regular queue for long periods of time.
Yeah, Disney defines that as different things. We're not really going to take a time to go through each one that makes you eligible. But if that's something you're interested in, you can always call them or talk with them when you get to the park about your sort of eligibility. To remember that the special events are a one-night ticket, so they're separate from your Magic Keys, they're separate from basically 3-day passes or whatever. They're just a single-day ticket. So if you're interested in using a Dash Pass during that single-day ticket, you're going to have to go to customer service or customer relations when you first get to the park and get that set up for the ticket.
Yes. And so for Disney's California Adventure Oogie Boogie Bash, it is literally right after you go through the front gates. It's to the left is the customer relations building. Yeah. And when you go there, you just kind of get in line. There really wasn't a whole lot of people when we got there because we got there early, which was one of the reasons why we did go early, so we could handle whatever it was that we needed to handle beforehand. So we got in line, we got a really nice lady, she was really super friendly. She did ask me a few questions about why it is I specifically cannot wait in the regular queues, and I'm just forthcoming with it. I'm a type 1 diabetic, I do have hypoglycemic unawareness, and unfortunately sometimes when my blood sugar hits me, and it goes really low before I realize it, and then it's a medical emergency and I need to leave the queue. So rather than make it more frustrating to have to deal with, I request a Disability Access Service Pass. So she was cool with that. And then we went through the process of her explaining it because this was our first time at Disneyland, and it is very different on the West Coast versus the East Coast. If you guys want to know a little bit more about how they link that, we do have another video in this series that we will put in our playlist too, so you guys can learn a little bit more about it. But the way that it works for the Disability Access Service Pass is that you still have to wait whatever the posted wait time is for that specific attraction. So if it's 15 minutes, you're waiting 15 minutes. If it's an hour and a half, you're still waiting an hour and a half. And what they do is they give you a time for you to return to that attraction and get in and then be able to ride it. You are only allowed to have one at a time because you can only wait in line for one ride at a time.
And for those coming over from either the East Coast and even to Disney World, or maybe you've never been here before, you can't actually go to the ride and get a return time. You have to go to one of the 4 customer service stations. If you're in California Adventures, you're going to have to go to one of the 4 customer relations booths, or you can either go back to the front of the park and go to the actual building, or one of their sort of standalone kiosks that they have throughout the park. You cannot go to the rides and get one.
Which is also another huge difference, I think, from East to West Coast that I just realized, is that a lot of times when you go and renew or sign up for the Disability Access Service at Walt Disney World, is at that initial location when you go to customer relations, it depends on who you get.
Right.
Most of the time
100%.
they will not set up your first pass. Yep. last night she was like, oh, I can set up your first pass, we'll get it all set. I can't tell you how many times at Walt Disney World that I went to renew my pass and I asked if they could go ahead and set up my first one, and they said, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to either go to the attraction or go to one of the other information booths to set it up. Whereas what was explained to us last night was that she could definitely set it up for us, and that it was not an issue at all. So
when we went to the actual attractions, they wouldn't do one. So just know that ahead of time. It could just be some confusion with the night. The lady at the customer service when we first walked in said that they would be able to. We're going to continue to explore this, so don't know that this isn't the end. But for special events, we really do recommend going to one of the kiosks or to the front to set up your actual experiences, which, as many of you know, can be frustrating because you have to get off the ride and you have to go and find one. And if you're in, say, if you're by Soarin' and that's what you want to ride, there's nothing remotely close to that ride. So you've got to go either into Pixar Pier, the back of Pixar Pier, buying Credit Coaster, or go all the way around to like the Hollywood Avenue, which is almost right by the front one too. So it's not that much farther for a walk for there. So that can be a little bit frustrating, know that ahead of time.
I will say though, during the party, there wasn't really very many long lines at the information booth. I think the longest I waited was for like one family. So there really wasn't a lot of time because that is also where you go for the child rider switch as well. If you're familiar with that, I can always do another video if you guys are curious about the rider switch pass.
Let us know in the comments below.
It kind of works the same, but it's different, so we can definitely talk about that in a future video. But you go to, that's where everybody goes, is to the information station to set up that program. So during busier days you may have to wait, but during the party lines were low and we never really had to wait very long to talk to somebody at the information booth, and they were all very friendly. It was very easy to set up.
And once you got to the ride, it was actually super easy. They were always nice. They're like, oh, you have a return time? We would say yes. You basically just bring the information up on the phone. Because they don't use barcodes on your tickets for special events, they use like a QR code. You have to bring it up in your app, so make sure you link your ticket to your app ahead of time. That'll save you a little time, and that's a legit tip.
Legit tip.
You basically bring it up in the app, it pulls up the barcode, and you just go underneath what I would call a magic band scanner that you're not using.
It looks so much like the magic band scanners, but it has a little hole.
And make sure the person with the DAS scans first. This is important because theirs will actually come up blue. And then they come over, they type in a couple things in their little pad thing, theirs goes green, and then anybody else in the party has to scan theirs. So they just go right under there, scan it. They literally, the longest part is waiting for them to whatever they type in on the pad to approve it. And then the other one just scans super quickly, it turns green, and you walk past.
Yeah, and so essentially what the DAS does is it allows you to skip majority of the regular queue. You do join in with the regular queue at a certain point, and it's roughly about 5, maybe 10 minutes at the most, depending on they might have ride issues getting people in and off of vehicles and stuff. Well, they will ask you too if you're okay with stairs. So if you're somebody who has an issue with stairs, it seemed like some of the attractions had an option for you to exit the ride without having to go up and down stairs. So keep that in mind if you also have a mobility issue on top of needing a DAS pass. That is one of the key factors. If you are looking to get a DAS pass, it does not cover mobility related issues. So if you're somebody like, let's say you broke your leg or you're just not able to stand for a long period of time, they will tell you that you need to get a wheelchair or a motorized vehicle or a motorized wheelchair to tackle that issue, because their queues are built to accommodate wheelchairs and scooters.
Yeah. So let's do just a couple tips for the use of a DAS pass at a special event. I think tip number 1 is that it's free. So this is a legit tip. It is 100% free. It's included in your ticket. Due to federal regulations, they have to give people with disabilities the same experience I don't want to call a non-disabled person, I guess would be the best way to put it, a non-disabled experience. So your experience has to be the same as someone who is not disabled.
And also to keep in mind, just because you may not consider yourself disabled in the way that most people think of disabled, having an issue with waiting in the queue is still considered a disability. So you should allow yourself to have access to that system, because you deserve to be able to experience the ride.
Yeah, and forget the haters. You're going to hear them in line. We hear them all the time. Why are they disabled? They don't look disabled. It's none of your business. it's none of your business.
There's a lot of people that have invisible disabilities that you can't see, so, just always try to, give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, we got your back.
Yeah.
Don't let the judgy people run an experience for you that you could have that would make something that you might not be able to do otherwise possible. And we've been to Disney a million times, and these special events are amazing. So don't not enjoy something just because there are going to be some negative jerks in the crowd.
One interesting thing I will say, coming from the East Coast and doing parties on the East Coast versus the West Coast, is I remember when we did Mickey's Not So Scary, we had some issues at some of the attractions where we tried to use our disability access pass, and they said that, like, oh, it's not available, or like, oh, are we really doing this? Did not run into that issue at all.
And I think that's one of the benefits of not going to the rides and doing it. You're literally going to a customer service person who is trained on that stuff, so there was no sort of confusion or issues. She actually reaffirmed it when we first came in at the customer relations. She's like, oh, don't worry about that. Even during the event, we still use it. This doesn't stop just because it's an event.
Yeah, because my big thing was maybe we'll just use it for the 3 hours before the party. And she was like, oh, no, it's covered in the party. So that was kind of an interesting change of thought, coming from an East Coast party to a West Coast party. So I thought that was definitely a benefit for sure.
Another legit tip that we really want to stress is get there a little early. As soon as it opens, try to get there because it does take a little bit of time. It's not like a long process, but depending on how many people are at customer relations, and they can go there for any reason to complain about stuff, to
lost and found,
buying new tickets, wanting to enhance things, those type of things. All of those things are happening at the same place. So sometimes the line can get a little long, and you want to make sure that you get there ahead of time, just so you're not spending like a ton of time just waiting in line.
Yeah, definitely get there early. Another legit tip, I think, is really kind of think of like what it is that you want to do first. We typically go with whatever has the longest wait time first.
I guess. Really, last night when we went, I really wanted to ride the Cards ride, so that was our first choice. And that was just because it was Cards ride. I didn't really take into account lines. You can do it either way. Honestly, we go there typically with a plan of rides that we wanted to make sure we rode, so we just sort of tick those off. But yeah, that's a good idea, hitting up the longest line first, because that's going to be your biggest wait. Yeah,
that was my plan going in. I knew that we wanted to ride the Cars Land. I knew we wanted to do Incredicoaster. So I knew there were things that we were going to eventually get to, but I figured if we started with the one that probably had the longest wait, then that was probably going to take the most chunk of our time. So at least we could spend our time doing stuff that had lower wait times that I felt okay getting into the regular queue with.
Kind of doing this now, the one thing I would say as a sort of legit tip in regards to sort of how you plan out your day is to plan it around the information booths. So you're going to have to go there to get that DAS pass. And so you just want to remember that if you plan it around the booths, you can actually like sort of plan out your day a little better. Like there's no booths in by Soarin' and stuff. So if you plan that for later, so that's maybe the last thing you hit on the way out of the park, you'll probably have a better experience.
Yeah, and thinking about it, what you just said now, when we were done with the Incredicoaster, if we had hit the information booth when we were leaving Pixar Pier, we probably could have went ahead and done our DAS pass for Soarin' at that time. But we were really exhausted for this party, if I'm completely honest with you. So and everything was new and we were still learning.
Yeah, and I think that rolls into the tip. Be cognizant of where those information booths are, because when you're coming out of a ride, if you can hit one up real quick and get that scheduled, so you can go and grab a bite to eat or find a nice place to sit down, like those are easier to do than worrying about sort of, okay, what's my next ride? I have to go there and check in on the East Coast.
Agreed. Okay, so another interesting thing about the party is the web slingers was available for the party goers.
Oh, that's a good point, yeah.
And we didn't need a virtual queue.
That's a legit tip in itself, that web
Yeah, that is a legit party tip for sure.
But a second legit party tip is...
So they opened the queue right, like about 5:30. The party started at 6. So we were actually pretty early into the queue. So we found out later.
And we didn't think about this either, by the way.
Yeah, we really.
In all honesty,
we weren't thinking. We were just like, and then we saw that it was open, and we were like, oh yeah, let's go. So you can get a return time for that. I did see people asking for a return time for that, but we were already so far up in the queue. We were gonna ride the ride in about 10 minutes anyway. So
if you show up at 6 when they open it, you can literally just tell them you need a dance, and they'll actually just let you on because there's no technical wait time at that point. That you would just move right on into the ride.
Yeah.
So that's a great tip and something that we totally thought about. So you don't even really have to wait in line for that one. If you show up at 6 right when they open it, you can just basically
let them know you have a DAS.
And you'll walk to right where the DAS sort of meets up with the regular line.
But we ended up actually sticking into the regular queue because the wait was not that long. So.
And part of my thinking too was because it wasn't that long, I kind of wanted to see that queue personally. And as you know, if you use a DAS pass, you don't get to see the queues. So legit tip, if you do want to see the queues, it's sort of like how do you figure out when to ride that ride so that you'll be able to see the queues. Because sometimes at East Coast Disney World, we would wait till the end of the night for like Mine Train just so we could walk through the queue because there would be no wait. And then we could literally take our time looking at stuff and then getting on the ride.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all about kind of looking at wait times. The way I tackle using my DAS pass is if it's less than about 20 minutes, I'm okay going into the queue.
No judgment if you can't wait 20 minutes.
Yeah. That's just how we tackle it because I feel comfortable enough that in 20 minutes that if I check my blood sugar before I go in and I'm normal, I typically know that I'll be okay. It's just those really long times. You just never know what's going to happen in the heat when you're standing. My body does funky things. But that's just kind of how we tackle it. So anything that's less than 20 minutes, I don't typically try to ask for a return time for. But at the party, you guys can request a return time for every attraction.
Everyone.
It doesn't matter what the attraction is, you can request a return time. And even if the wait time is 10 minutes, they'll give you a 10-minute return time. So keep that in mind. It's definitely, it's helpful. Another thing is that it does show up in your Disneyland app. So if you are like me and 10 seconds later after somebody told you, you turn into Dory and you're like, wait, what did they say?
We sort of confuse, like sometimes like, is it 23 or did it say 28? And so it's great that within like a minute or two, it would pop right up in the app and show us exactly what time we can come back.
Which is a huge difference from Walt Disney World, where sometimes it would take almost an hour before it showed up.
Never show
or
up.
It wouldn't show up at all. Yeah. So that's definitely something to keep in mind.
Yeah. So if you like this content, let us know in the comments below, and we can just keep making it because we go to all these theme parks. We always sort of look into these pieces of the theme parks, and we're trying to just get out the word so that everybody knows about it.
Yeah, and disability is what it is, and you should be able to enjoy the park just like everybody else. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have in the comments below. Feel free to leave whatever questions you might have, and if I don't know the answer, I will definitely try to find it for you or steer you into the right direction.
And it's important too to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you're notified when things happen, because we do these videos all the time and we're always sort of hitting theme parks, adventure things, national parks, stuff like that, and giving you tips and tricks for people who are
who have disabilities.
Yeah.
And if you guys are interested in some East Coast content, we did use the DAS Pass a lot while we were out there, and we did use it specifically for riding Rise of the Resistance. So if you guys want to check out that video, we'll link it in our playlist, but also make sure you guys check out some of our other videos where we talk about the Disability Access Service. And I hope this video was helpful for you, and if it was, please give it a huge thumbs up for me.
Yeah, and come get lost with us again as we sort of continue our journeys doing theme parks and fun stuff around the country.
Yeah, so we will see you guys in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.